Welcome in. It's the Second Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and tonight we are recapping round 2 of the Memorial, getting you ready for the weekend. Greg DuCharme is here to help me do just that. Hello, Greg.
Rick, fired up to be here. What a day this has been. Just an incredible golf course that's really showing its teeth. And I'll start with this. I can't remember the last time I've seen this many pitch outs out of the rough, like 30-yard pitch outs. Straight, it's just a lie in the rough. You just can't get it to the green, pitch it out. I haven't seen that in a long time on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, there's been a large range of scores that are going on, not only today, but yesterday as well. We've got Mark Immelman, who will be coming in shortly, but we wait for no man, Greg. The coverage is over. We wait for no man, and I could not watch Collin Morikawa vomit all over himself any longer. We had to start the show.
Yeah. Well, that's quite a place to start, but it shows you the difficulty of this place. He made a complete mess of 15, which quite frankly, Rick, doesn't really show the difficulty of the place. It shows the mistake that he made. You know, he's greenside in 2 on 15 and walks away with 7 on the par 5. So that was very surprising. And then after a nice birdie at 18, leaves the second shot in the bunker at 17 and ends up making double from there, missing a 6-foot putt. So things were looking really good early for Collin Morikawa. I thought he was going to be a part of this story, and he still may be at 2 under par. Yeah. But boy, this hurts.
Yeah, still inside the top 10. In fact, he's in a tie for 8th right now. He's still very much in the mix, but now Scotty's between him and the top of the board. And also he started the day at 5 under and got basically the best conditions of the day and did not take advantage of them. So I'll just rant on Collin Morikawa there. We could just move along to some guys who played a little bit better on this Friday. And Greg, we've got 2 names at the top of the leaderboard. Both of these golfers are at 7 under par, and they are 2 shots clear of the rest of the field. I'm just going to start with the name that has been on top of the leaderboard a lot recently, and that is Ben Griffin. We'll get you updated here on what he did in round number 1, which was a 65 to get out to that early lead. And then he played an even par round of 72 today, 1 birdie and 1 bogey. He is vibing right now.
Yes, and a much more interesting scorecard to look at round 1 for him, like you're seeing right now if you're with us on YouTube. What I find to be fascinating is on both 11 and 12, you see bogeys there. There are plenty of bogeys on this golf course for, everybody in the field, but he hit it in the water on both of those holes. And I loved what he said after the round. He was just excited to hit the next shot. And that's a really cool place to be when you're filled with confidence. Ben Griffin has made the most notable improvement from his first 2 years on tour to this year is his driving. He's up like 60 spots. 60 ranking spots on the PGA Tour and strokes gained off the tee this year. And that has been a really important piece here at Muirfield Village.
Yeah, he's been awesome. And I think we're going to see a lot more of him potentially in September at Bethpage. But before I even start that conversation, let me throw Mark Immelman into the mix. Hello, Mark.
How's the boys? I didn't realize still on the Eastern time zone here in Dublin, Ohio. Got my timing wrong. Forgive me.
Even though it's in the Midwest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm all confused.
It's all good. We've got it all figured out now. And you've had an up close and personal look of Ben Griffin a lot over the course of the last handful of weeks. And he's at it again, Mark.
Yeah, and playing with a lot of poise. Winning on the PGA Tour is one thing. And then now backing that up after, a really big win, probably the signature win of his for the career. Then you come to Jack's Place. And the conditions are not easy. This golf course is all you want. It's long. It's playing long right now. The rough is it is thick and it is lush. And so it's hardly the easiest test, especially now, look, he's coming in with confidence. But he did get a bit of a break playing this afternoon. But all that being said, just so impressive. When the once or twice, because I got wet this morning. And so I came back to the room and I was sort of drying out and, just watching a little golf on television. And I was so impressed that when he did get into trouble, there was no real threat, no bother. He just went about his business and made some good saves, got out once or twice after being in trouble. So it's another fantastic performance. And he doesn't look, I wouldn't say he's immovable. He's not Scotty Scheffler. But right now, he doesn't look like he's got any intentions of going anywhere except for just forward.
He did a walk and talk, Greg, and said, not tired at all. I'm ready to rock and roll. I mean, it's probably hard to be tired or fatigued when you are in the midst of the best golf of your life. You're at Muirfield Village. You're in the lead. Like I wouldn't be tired either. I'd be ready to rock and roll.
Well, I mean, look at what he's done through his career. In his first 2 years, he played 35 and 37 events. And now this year, he's played every event but 2. I mean, the guy isn't used to weeks off. I know that when you win, there's a lot more that's involved, and that could be fatiguing. And he did say that he's, probably going to take a week off next week. I think he said he is going to take a week off next week and get ready for some of the majors. So, look, that's something that he's used to. I don't expect fatigue out of Ben Griffin. And also, when you're playing golf like this, it's exciting. You're not laying in bed at night with the lead saying, oh boy, I hope I can do this again. You're in a place where I can't wait to do this again because, hey, this is fun. Now, round 2 was not the round that he shot with the scorecard you're looking at here. He hit 12 fairways in round 1, only 6 in round 2. But to Mark's point, the way he dealt with those lies when he did miss fairways was spot on, and he was able to, for the most part, keep bogeys off the card.
Hey, was that the walk and talk that Mr. Nicholas said that he didn't?
Oh yeah,
very much. That was hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was as soon as the walk and talk ended. I went back and watched it. As soon as the walk and talk ended, Jack goes, "Oh, I really do hate that," or something like that.
Yeah. I can't stand those things.
I can't stand those things.
You know what I found curious, Greg? The modern day golfer, everyone talks to them, and the coaches and the psychologists say that, you have your golf ball, your shot zone, and you get in your zone, you hit your shot, then you check out for 5 minutes while you walk, and you kind of just, have a little levity perhaps, or you just keep your mind free of stress. Well, yes, Jack is like, no, he's got to prepare for this next shot. This is a hard shot. And he shouldn't be talking about other stuff that's really not that important to playing competitive golf. So I was fascinated at Mr. Nicholas's take there.
Yeah, I think his point was, don't take him out of the moment. Let him continue to be in the moment. Don't distract him with anything, which is interesting. It was a little awkward. I thought it was pretty funny, but Ben didn't seem to mind too much. 65-72 for Ben. He is 7 under par heading into the weekend. The other name at the top with him is Nick Taylor, 69-68, a bogey-free 68 on this Friday. Birdies on 4, 8, 9, and 13. Greg, Nick Taylor's year has been a little bit strange. It's either very, very good or pretty bad. He's missed a lot of cuts. He has a lot of subpar finishes, but don't forget, he won early this year at the Sony Open, and when things click, we have seen him really win and contend at some big-time events.
And he's certainly used to these conditions. He played in the morning in this when it was raining for basically his entire round. Probably was his entire round, and so he's certainly used to handling that. Now, the thing that I mentioned at the top of the show, Rick, was how difficult it was when you hit it into the rough. Well, Nick Taylor, he hit 9 to 14 fairways in the stats, but I believe 3 of those were in the intermediate cut. So after his tee shot, he was able to attack the green. One of the fairways that he missed into the heavy rough was on a par 5, and he laid up and was able to knock the next one on the green. So the positioning off the tee really set up his iron play where he hit 15 of 18 greens. And when Nick Taylor is in that mode where he's playing really well, his iron play is spectacular. He gave himself a number of wedge opportunities today that he took advantage of. In fact, he made a great par after the other, I believe it was on 9, he missed a fairway. No, it wouldn't have been 9. He made birdie there. It would have been 10. He missed a fairway, had to lay up and was able to get up and down. So really impressive wedge play as well out of Nick Taylor.
Nick Taylor, Mark, is a 5-time winner on the PGA Tour, but even something that kind of caught me as a surprise is he has won in each of the last 3 years. We've talked about that for guys like Dustin Johnson when they go on those serious runs. That's hard to do, to continue to get back in the winner's circle calendar year after calendar year.
It is, but I don't think people really appreciate his pedigree. Nick Taylor is a former world #1 amateur. He was dominant when he was in college up there at UW in Washington. He was the pick of the young Canadian player litter when they came out. And I would say of the bunch of them, I'd never really use the word complete, when I describe a golfer, because not every golfer is complete. But Nick is a beautiful ball striker. He really, really is. And he's long enough. He's a guy that shows up in the moment. A lot of people, when the pressure is up and they've got a putt to make, they'll wilt. Where Taylor goes the other way around. The bigger the putt is, the more he's likely going to show up and bury the thing. And I've seen that more often than not. What springs to mind is not the putt he made to win the Canadian Open a few years ago, but the downhill slider from about 10 feet he made to get into the playoff or to post in front of all those crowds, his home fans, and makes that the putt that you should make. You're not supposed to make the long-range sweeping eagle bomb. So he's kind of got it. And he's also got that thing where he is kind of dogged when he gets under pressure. And he's up for the battle. And he's not going to settle down for whoever he faces up to. So he's always got a lot of chops. He's always been the kind of guy that I enjoy spending time around. I love to watch him play golf. And today, to me, being out there in the morning, it was chilly and it was kind of a wet cold and obviously rainy, and the golf course was hot as heck, and the rough looked like it was impossible, and the greens still somehow were fast, and it was just grueling. And he looks like he was having the best day of his life kind of thing, because he's just so used to playing those conditions, being up there from the west coast of Canada and then going to college up there in just outside of Seattle. So I don't know what's going on over the weekend, but he tends to show up. He's a popper, as Greg would call him, and when he pops, he doesn't go away.
I'm trying to look here at how many bogey-free rounds there were today. Anybody want to take a guess at how many bogey-free rounds there were? Okay, I got the answer.
Okay, I would guess.
Is that a 0 or
one.
a mark or a 3 mark?
That's a 0.
Well, you're looking at one
other
right
than
now.
Nick Taylor.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I forgot Taylor. Forgive me. Okay, otherwise,
I think
on the screen right now.
I can't see the screen, bro. Gee whiz.
Okay, we've got at least one. Greg, what's your guess?
I'm thinking it's 1. I mean, looking through this, you got me. I don't know. Maybe Justin. I'm gonna guess 3.
1. Yeah,
just 1. All right.
No. I'm sorry. 2. Actually, both the Canadians. Nick Taylor, Mackenzie Hughes.
Okay. Wow. So Mackenzie Hughes made what? 1 birdie and 17 pars. 17 pars.
Yeah. Johnny Vegas did not make a bogey, but he did make a triple. So that doesn't.
I will say this, guys. It got a whole lot easier this afternoon. I mean, I look out my hotel room now. It's like I'm in a different place. We can actually see the sky. The flight in here this morning we bounced into Columbus, Ohio, because of all the weather we were flying around. And then it was just that rain where it was just kind of aggravating. Sometimes it would rain hard for a spell, like a quick shower, but then the rest of the time it was just raining and you got wet and you got cold. And the kind of temperature sort of, for us folks who live in the South, we're not used to this, where, you kind of lose the feeling in your fingers a bit, because it's not like bone chilling, but it's just wet enough and cold enough that you kind of lose feel. So it was an awfully hard day, but the guys in the afternoon, they definitely did have the advantage, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you weren't watching any golf this morning, it was a lot of backwards hats or hats off. Yeah. It was a lot of umbrellas and annoyed looks and all that stuff this morning. So Nick Taylor, Ben Griffin lead the way going into the weekend. They're both at 7 under par. 2-shot gap to the man who sits in solo third, Greg, and that is Akshay Bhatia, rounds of 70 and 69. If you look at his stat profile for the week, he is gaining throughout the bag. That means he has been a positive player in all 4 major categories. categories. Not a ton with the putter, just a quarter of a stroke there over the first 2 rounds, but very encouraging signs from Akshay.
Yeah, this is what we saw last week before Sunday with Akshay. I thought last week, right around this time, that he was the guy that could track down a Matty Schmidt and a Ben Griffin, if anybody could. But the reason for that was really consistent play throughout the bag. And his tee to green play has kind of let him down a little bit this year. He's putted very well this season. But what we've seen over these first 2 rounds from him is very accurate driving to the golf ball. Very, very good iron play. He's missed his fair share of greens, as everybody has, but hitting it close. He led the field in proximity yesterday. He was 3rd in the field in strokes gained approach in round 2. And he's able to do that because he's coming from the fairway, right? He's tied 2nd in fairways hit so far for the week. So Akshay, when he's playing good, seems to fit this kind of golf course, this kind of test beautifully, because like we talked about on Tuesday, driving accuracy is very important here, which is very rare for a long golf course. So, you put the ball in the fairway, even if you have some long approaches into the greens, you have an advantage over the guys that are missing the fairway.
Hey, Greg, sorry, Rick, I just want to say, I hear what you're saying, Greg, and I'll raise you. Where you talk about, this kind of golf course is going to thrive on. The more I'm around the guy, the more I'm like, I don't think there's a golf course that he won't thrive on. And the biggest compliments I can pay him is that, when I have little bets and stuff with my buddies and people, I kind of got my go-tos, Rory and company. But Akshay's become one of the names that I will look for. And when I'm at events, I'll always scroll down leaderboards and look for certain names. And that speaks to my belief in the guy. He is turning into a sensational player. And I think it's a matter of time before he wins some more. Now, again, there's always that injury thing that I qualify stuff with, but he's just becoming better and better. And I loved his comments afterwards where he said, people think I'm a great putter because statistically it shows. He goes, but I haven't felt that comfortable on the greens. And I've worked in it, and I'm kind of getting myself back to where I was. And that's kind of a scary proposition if statistically he's better than you putting and he's not feeling that great with the putter in his hand. That's a pretty cool place to be. So look, I'm all in. I'm on the Akshay bus right now.
It's good to see him play well again. He got off to a really good start in 2025. He had a bunch of top 10 finishes in a row, or at least 3 out of 4 at Genesis, at the Mexico Open, and the Players. But after the Players last week, actually, the Charles Schwab was his first top 40 since the Players. So things are certainly going in the right direction for Akshay. The problem for everybody lurks in solo 4th, and his name is Scottie Scheffler. This is rounds of 70-70. A lot of birdies, a couple of ugly, sloppy holes this week, Greg. I look at his stat profile and I see a golfer who's doing Scottie Scheffler things from tee to green. He's been nothing short of spectacular. He's losing a little bit on the putting surfaces, and he is currently 3 shots back going into the weekend.
Yeah, you kind of feel at this point like, okay, is he going to win this by 3 or by 5? Like what's the margin of victory for Scottie? This is just that position we've seen him in so often. And, the thing that is really encouraging to me is when he started off this day, he was sensational approaching the green and hitting fairway. This was an absolute stripe show. He wasn't curving it. He was hitting it right down the middle of the fairway, and his iron shots were coming right down on the flag. It looked like Scottie Scheffler of last year. And then he made a couple of errors, missed a fairway at 10. It was unlike him after what we saw on the front 9. He ends up making double there, hits it in the water from the middle of the fairway at 14, but saves a bogey. Tell you, this is it's a scary thing for the rest of the field, because I think he probably left 4 very makeable birdie putts out there today. We got some wind coming in tomorrow. We have a lot. I mean, we have some really good players ahead of him, but they're not Scottie Scheffler. And this golf course, when it gets really tough on the weekend, like I would expect, I think he has a pretty clear advantage. So this is typical, I would say.
I love the relentlessness, Mark. So on number 10, he hits it into the right rough. He tries to hit what looks like that 7 wood that he's carrying out of a thick lie, and he cold topped it. He advanced it 60 yards down the fairway. He hit a really good shot that landed next to the hole and spun back to 40 feet, and he 3-jacked it from there. So he makes a double on 10. That double stood on his card for exactly 2 holes because he birdies 11, he birdies 12, and just like that, it goes away. And like, he just erases it. Like, anytime he does anything wrong, he erases it immediately. He just gets right back to the same process and starts over, and it's no problem.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because listening to Greg, I was going to comment that to me, he just looks like he's playing golf. Now, that may be trite, but, sometimes golf is ugly and sometimes golf is pretty. Most times it's ugly. Now, when Scotty strikes it, it looks pretty. And the round I saw him play today, I didn't think he was at his best, but I'll definitely say this. He looks way more rested than what I saw him a couple of weeks ago at the PGA when it was grueling. Then you've turned around playing the heat of Fort Worth. And so there's kind of an ease about him. And you could sense, because he played this morning and it was not nice out there, like I said, he just looked like he was kind of just playing golf. There wasn't the pursed lips and the grinding look that you saw at other people. He was just, I'll make some birdies, I'll make a mistake. It's okay, because I know that if I just play all right, if I shoot 70 and 70 and 70 and 70, that's probably good enough to win this thing. So I'm just going to keep cruising. And he's playing golf to me. He doesn't look overly stressed. And it's a crazy thing to see, because this golf course and the conditions the way they were can elicit the biggest amount of stress. And it jogs my mind, because I was asked earlier this week on a show, they're like, Scotty had a bad start somewhere. Does he have to start well to defend his title at the Memorial? And I was like, well, I'm not sure what your idea of well is, but as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't have to. He's just got to shoot something decent. And I actually said something, 72 to 69-ish. Just keep the leaders within arm's length, because if he does that, he'll just keep plugging away. And your use of the term relentless is absolutely appropriate. He just keeps coming. And the cool thing, and I don't know what it shows in the stats, but it's like areas of his game pick up for other areas that aren't working. Now, the knock, and everyone will look at this and go, well, he's losing strokes in the greens, he's gaining strokes in the people on the ball striking, and yet he still wins. I'm like, when I see him hit some crappy tee shots, he makes some really good pass savers.
Yeah, he does.
And when I see him hit some fantastic tee shots, sometimes he'll hit a weakish iron, but then hit a fantastic pitch shot. So it's always like this ham and egging between the different departments of his game. And to me, that's golf. And he's got this thing figured out, man. It is a scary proposition for the rest of the field.
One thing I'd like to add to that. Last year, we saw near perfect golf from Scotty a lot. We found ourselves saying he just doesn't make mistakes. And what we've seen this year is Scotty has made more mistakes this year than he did last year, but they don't rattle him. He doesn't change anything because he's not winning early in 2025. He doesn't change anything when he's hitting every single tee shot left on the first 9 with a 4-shot lead that's erased on the final round of a PGA. He just aims farther right. It's like nothing rattles him. If there was ever a time to be rattled, it was that front 9 at Quail Hollow on Sunday, and he wasn't. You look at the double bogey on 10 today. He's not rattled. He erases it, to your point, Rick. So there's an ability to play near perfect golf. Mistake-free golf is probably the better way to say it, better than perfect. So he has the ability to play mistake-free, but if he does make mistakes, he also has the ability to respond and come back better than anybody else. It's just birdies at 11 and 12 after a double there's something to that. That's not just random. There's something to that. I just love to see it.
And that whole occasion on 12 wasn't easy either. One more thing to that, and this is the former teacher in me, that I am scarred and I've got damage to my soul from working with PGA Tour and European Tour players. And I watched on Wednesday afternoon the show that the PGA Tour does for Golf Channel. It's called On the Range. And it's a pretty cool show. I've done it before, and it's essentially Golf Junkies catnip. And so I'm watching stuff there, and they've got Colin Morikawa grinding. And Rick Sessinghaus, his coach, is working hard. And I'm watching Colin hit a shot and step back and shake the head and stuff like that. And I remember thinking to myself, I've been Rick Sessinghaus, and that is the worst place to be, because it's terrible. And you could be preaching the gospel to the golfer you're working with. If their head's in the wrong space, it's not settling. And you almost just survive for a little while until things calm down, and then hopefully the ball striking or whatever it is picks up. So I'm watching Rick struggle, right? Whatever he did must have worked, because Colin got good yesterday. Anyhow, I digress. Then you watch Scotty, and I've seen him on the range just hitting it horribly at times, and I've seen him flushing it. Randy Smith is the most chilled out dude, and this is his coach. Randy is the most calm human being in the world. And he goes and stands there by Scotty, and he walks around a bit with his arms crossed. He's not worried about launch monitor data. He's like, come on, Scotty, just check your grip, check your club face, check your alignment. And I'm like, what a liberating spot to be. And I tell you that story because when the golfer starts going to that place where it's a maelstrom of noise in their head, and they're helping themselves from the frying pan into the fire, being around them as the caddy or the coach or the wife or whatever is just not a happy spot to be. Yet with Scotty, it looks like whether this guy shoots 70, he'll be a little irate for a few minutes, but then he's cool. I mean, you see some of those post-round hitting sessions of his, he'll look a little aggravated for a bit, but at the end, it's all fine. And it's, to me, that's also part of the reason why he's just playing so well right now, because he's like, you know what? If I'm good or if I'm bad, I'm still going to be around on Sunday afternoon. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy, the mind space that he is in right now.
I think it's interesting because Greg is right. He has made more mistakes in 2025, but he does not make two in a row. And he does not. It's just splendid. He's in solo fourth. He's 3 shots off the lead. I'll get you 1 or 2 more here. Let's go for the round of the day, and we can round out what is most of the top 5 here. And that's Sam Burns, who moved up 45 spots on the leaderboard with a 7 under 65, Greg, with a bogey on the card. Sam Burns has not had a great year. He has struggled in some of the areas statistically that he's been very strong at in his career. I think specifically about his approach play. Well, this is an 11-shot improvement from his Thursday round. He picked up 2.5 strokes on approach on Friday. Now, obviously, you've got to do other things to shoot a 7 under 65 in these types of conditions. But is this the outlier, or is this something we might be able to see a little bit more out of Sam Burns moving forward?
He hit. I'm very curious about that approach play number. Look, 65 is a 65. So you put that on, you take that for what you will. It's a great round of golf. And now you're in a great position heading into the weekend. But a lot of the shots that were big gainers for him on the field were little wedge shots, like 65 yarders that he hit to like a foot. He did that on a number of occasions. He did hit another one from like 170. I think it was on 18. He stuffed another one from 170. Which is just another great sign. But he missed a lot of greens too. There's still some wild shots that come out from him. He hit some wild ones off the tee. On his second shots on par 5s, he hit some wild ones, way offline, but hits a great wedge and gets it up and down, which is really impressive. He chips in at 5 for eagle. So I do think there was a little, I don't want to use the word luck, but things went his way today that I don't know if they're all going to go his way the rest of the week. If that makes sense. They're great shots. He's a great player. It's just very rare that those things continue to happen. So I didn't see the kind of, just press repeat kind of performance the way we saw out of, Nick Taylor looked very much like that. Scotty looked very much like that. This was a little more erratic from Sam Burns, but just brilliant scoring.
After missing 3 consecutive cuts, Sam's made 5 in a row, Mark, and the results are getting better. It was a 46 at the Masters. Then he finished 13th at Harbour Town, 5th at the Byron Nelson. He finished 30th at the Truist, and then his most recent start was the 19th place finish at the PGA Championship. So the metrics are still a little wonky, but the finishing positions are getting better.
I don't know where I am on Sam Burns. I think I bet him this week because I remember talking about how I thought he played this golf course well. And as long as he hits it, he can take some of the corners on. And, he just puts these greens so very well. So I don't know if it's a case of just happy hunting grounds. And he's coming to a place where the lines off the tee fit his eye. It's a Jack Nicklaus golf course, so it gives you a right miss. And he can miss it to the right when he's off. He hardly ever hits it left. So I don't know. I'm still a little out on Sam. He's wildly talented, so he can pull off anything. But I'm sort of on the fence on Burns right now. Not sure I would be prepared to lay my life savings on him over the weekend.
Well, if you did want to lay your life savings and he came through, you would have 22 life savings to your name because he is 22-1, currently 4 shots back. To absolutely no one's surprise, Scotty Scheffler is the favorite at plus 175. Remember, he was plus 290 before the week started. Then you see Ben Griffin is 4-1. He's currently in the lead alongside Nick Taylor, who is 6-1. Akshay Bhatia, Greg, I know he's caught your attention over the course of the last couple of weeks. He is 11-1, and a couple of big boppers like Colin Morikawa and Xander Schauffele, who had total opposite days, are both in a tie for 8. 14-1 for Colin, 16-1 for Xander.
You're getting me excited when you said Morikawa and Xander. I'm like, Xander was playing with Spieth. And Spieth looked positively normal today, the golf I was watching on TV. Man, he was striking it flush. The first round, it was a little Jordan Spieth-ish. But today, he looked freaking fantastic. So I'm keen to see what happens over the weekend because I actually sat up and I looked at him. Every fairway is in the middle of the fairway. And he finished with a bit of a flourish. So, yeah, I got my eye on Jordan over the weekend.
It was a pretty normal day, but Mark, he still took his shoes off at one point.
Yeah.
So it was still a little Spiethy. And yes, he is 16-1, 4 shots off the lead. What catches your eye, Greg?
Well, Jordan Spieth catches my eye as well. Not because of the betting board. Look, I'm looking at this betting board and I see Scotty and I wonder, does he win by 5 or by 3? That's really where I am. I think Nick Taylor at 6-1 is interesting. Akshay is interesting, but I'm fascinated to see what Jordan does because yesterday I saw we were doing some feature group coverage on Sirius, and I saw Jordan. I saw and heard what I believe is the problem with his game right now. Why the results aren't matching what I believe his performance is, and he hits a shot at number 2. This is the second hole of the tournament. He's got 120 yards in the fairway. Right, in a perfect spot. He hits it. It lands on the false front, spins back in front of the bunker, and he's short-sided. And he says to Michael, Michael, it's 1 yard away from tap in, and now I'm screwed. Okay. And this is, in my opinion, a targeting issue. Right? You can't aim for spots like that. Where if you hit a shot and miss by a yard, you're screwed. If you don't miss, it's perfect. You got to give yourself more leeway with where you're aiming, especially on the second hole of a 72-hole tournament. And so I'm very glad to see him work his way up the leaderboard after that. It led to a bogey. And now he's got himself at 3 under, 4 back, right in the mix. The golf swing, I believe, like Mark said, is there. He holds some really nice putts today. There's a lot going on for Jordan. I'm just curious, can he make it easy? Can he tap into a little Scotty Scheffler? I'm not saying he's got to be Scotty. Just give me a little, okay, it's 120. It's a front flag. Let's hit it 125, instead of 114 and try to skip it up there through the rough over the rake and bank it in. Like, let's just make it a little easier. And I think he'll play great.
I need to point out to you, Greg, that this is Jordan Spieth. Who
I know.
Okay, I've actually watched him one time on the course where I heard it with my own 2 ears, and I watched it happen. It's the ball down the left side of the green, and there's like a bank that's a good 45 degrees. It's not like it's a gradual bank down to the water, and the ball's touch and go. It's like on the edge of the green, and it turns a bit and hits the tilted side of the bank and kicks into the water. And he goes, "How unlucky is that break?" And I wanted to go, Jordan, a ball's typically going to bounce down a hill, my friend. I mean, you're expecting this thing to bounce up the hill onto the green. So this is Spieth. It's all hysteria with him. But I sort of agree. But the reality is, even when he was dominant in 15, it was the same way. I mean, he's talkative, he's chatty. It's a disaster waiting to happen around every corner. But then by the same token, I hope I have him, because I just look forward to watching him hit some of these shots, because he will hold the shots. Like he said to me out of his mouth, he goes, "When I have a wedge in hand, I'm playing to hold it. Wedge putter, I'm playing to hold." So that's because he does that sort of stuff. So I'm keen to see what the weekend brings along.
The entire SSG investment can be recouped with just a Jordan Spieth dedicated feed. do not turn the mics off, and do not ever turn the camera away from him. And we'll just pay for this whole darn thing.
Did you guys see the quip yesterday? I actually laughed. Where he's hit it down the right side of 5. And it's
brilliant.
The rough is always heavy over there. I don't know how, because the low side of the hole's on the left side of the fairway. And he's standing there and he wants to hit it through the gap in the trees there. And Grella's like, "But go this way, it's safer." And Jordan goes, "But I just want to go there, Michael." And then he looks up at the tree and he goes, "But I'm hitting such good shots and just getting boned all of the time."
And I can't accept it.
I can't accept it. I mean, he's like a pretty deep thinker, right? He like knows it. He just can't help himself.
He cannot help it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, gentlemen, well done. We'll be back on Sunday to recap probably Ben Griffin punching his ticket to the Ryder Cup team. I don't know. Maybe Scotty Scheffler. It could be anything. Go ahead quickly, Mark.
I wanted to say that because Greg goes, Scotty Scheffler's going to win. Scotty Scheffler's going to win. Scotty Scheffler's going to win. Hey, bro, have you been watching Ben Griffin play lately? And Scotty was in the field last week, too.
Have you been listening to me, Mark? I'm not changing my tune.
Oh, you're true. Stay on that horse.
All right, beautiful. I got to get Greg out of here. It has been an absolute pleasure, gentlemen. I will see you on Sunday night. Producer Mina doing all the hard work behind the scenes. Mark Immelman, Greg DuCharme. I'm Rick Gehman. This is The Second Cut. We'll catch you next time.